Correct diaries. Mathys Tel has been left out of the Champions League squad. Is it the end? £40 million down the drain. There's a lot of questions in the Spurs fan base right now. And I'll be honest, I do think some of it is overreacting. I think we're making this bigger than it is, but it is definitely a talking point and something that does need to be addressed. So for those of you who have been busy with life or sleeping underneath a rock, the Tottenham Hotspur Champions League squad has now been confirmed. Just for those of you who don't really know how the Champions League squad works, you have 3 lists. As per UEFA regulations, a maximum of 25 players can belong to list A, 2 of whom must be goalkeepers, while the list must also include 8 locally trained players. These locally trained players are players that have either been with the club for 3 entire seasons before the age of 21, or it's players who have been registered with another club inside this country between the ages of 15 and 21. So we have a problem there. The homegrown quota has always been an issue for Spurs. And what this has left us, because we cannot fulfill the 8 locally trained players, we have to make sure that our squad is slightly lower than that of other teams. So we don't have a 25-man squad. We have a 22-man squad. And in that 22-man squad, it includes Vicario, Danso, Paulinho, Simmons, Richarlison, Dogi, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Christian Romero, Dominic Solanke, Mohamed Kudus, Brennan Johnson, Pedro Porro, Jed Spence, Wilson Odabert, Pat Matasar, Rodrigo Bentancur, Antonin Kinski, Ben Davies, Mickey van der Ven, Kolo Muani, and Brandon Austin. So as we can see there is no Mathys Tel. Some other notable players that are also been left out is Maddison, who's out with injury at this moment in time. Dejan Kulusevski, who is also out with injury at this moment in time. Also, we have left out Dragusin, who is out with injury at this moment in time. Away from that, Takai has also been left out. And then Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma has been left out of the squad. Now, whether that's a disciplinary or whether that's because we expect for him to make a move within these other windows, whether that be Saudi or Turkish window, we expect something to happen with Bissouma. So he has been left out of the squad. But what does this mean for Mathys Tel? The number 11 that came in for £40 million this summer, confirmed after we didn't need to buy him. And this is why a lot of Spurs fans have questions about this signing, because we didn't need to sign him. It wasn't an obligation to buy. It was an option. Daniel Levy and Spurs team opted to go ahead with this signing prior to Thomas Frank even being signed as the manager. Yes, he was confirmed. Yes, we were told he approved the signing, but this wasn't a player that he got to watch extensively or got to understand his role in training before making this decision. So Spurs went ahead and signed him, and now, unfortunate for him, he's one of the players that are going to be missing out in the squad. And the thing is with this, is this was always the plan all summer. And this is where my confusion is. And I ask, is it the end? Because Spurs have always been looking for another attacking player. Ideally, we wanted to sign 4 attacking players this summer. Ideally, a forward, a left winger, right winger, and a number 10. We got a right winger, we got a 10, and we got a striker. We ideally wanted to sign a left winger on top of that. So we would have been left in this scenario where Tel or potentially Odabert as well would have had to be left out. If we had Kulusevski and Maddison available, it only begs to leave the question of who would have been left out at this time, because there's so many players of good quality that we need to have in that team. Some of the younger players that probably would have been in and around that questions would have been potentially Antonin Kinski, Archie Gray, maybe a Bergvall or a Sarr or an Odabert. It could have only been one of those 5 that would have been pulled out for a Dragusin, Maddison or Kulusevski. But for Tel, I don't think this is the end. I'll be honest. I don't think this is the end, people. I think that Thomas Frank would have had a chat with him to let him know that, look, so far, the player I'm most impressed with on your side is Odabert. I think Odabert gives us the most depth, or the best depth going into the Champions League. The most all-round game. We spoke about it before with Odabert. His all-round game just seems a little bit more polished than Tel. His dribbling is a lot cleaner. He can dribble on the right. He can dribble on the left. He can also play on the right as well as playing on the left. He's a player who's comfortable running at people and can help you retain possession because he's really good at that. But he does have some questions in front of goal. Does seem to shy away from making that final ruthless decision in the final third. You expect your forward players to know when they're going to cross, know when they're going to shoot, try to have a bit more IQ. And I suppose working under Frank throughout the season, I expect to see one of the players, Intel or Odabert, really step up in that sense. But at this moment in time, seems to be that Odabert is just a little bit ahead of Tel in his development of that part of his game anyway, with the all-round. But with regards to just the ruthless decision-making, I think Tel is slightly better than Odabert. I think Tel can cross a bit better. I think he strikes the ball better when he shoots. He creates shooting opportunities better for himself. But away from that, again, his all-round game is just a little bit weak. Doesn't really take people on successfully. Doesn't really dribble at a man successfully. He's somebody whose first touch can be a bit wayward at times. And I just feel like he leaves a lot to be desired whenever he's on the pitch. He's had more opportunities than Odabert to perform so far. And I'd go as far to say that he's been less impressive. Just needs to work on those the dribbling, the decision-making, and just finding out how he's going to impact games. Now, Spurs are competing in 4 competitions this season, and the Champions League squad is only for up until January. I believe in the last 2 games, when we turn in January, you can make a few changes to this squad. So Tel could potentially be entered back into this squad, depending on if there's any injuries or whether he performs. But there is still going to be plenty of opportunity for him in the Carabao Cup, where I would expect for him to start all those games, especially the one against Doncaster we have coming up in a few weeks. I'd expect for Mathys Tel to be the first name on the team sheet, as well as in some of the Premier League games. If Odabert's playing on the midweek or starting in the Champions League game, I'd expect either Johnson or Tel or maybe Mwani to start on the left in the Premier League game, because we're going to have to change it up, keep these players' legs fit, and make sure that they're sharp at all times. So I don't think this is the end. I think Tel's still going to get plenty of opportunities this season. But what this does show him, he does need to have a wake-up call. He does need to focus. He does need to have his head screwed on, because this season is important for him. This season is important to see. Sorry, I know people may have heard that noise. It's just my cat's just going mad. Got a new cat. Ghost is just causing problems right now. So ignore that. But what this shows, Tel, is this season could be make or break for him in a Spurs shirt. And I know it's just his first full season, but ultimately, if Thomas Frank doesn't believe in you as a manager, you're going to have to get sent out on loan or potentially sold, and we need to be more ruthless in that sense. So let's see how this plays out. I think he'll still get plenty of opportunities, but whether he starts to star in those opportunities, that's the question. And he needs to make sure that he does stand out in those, whether it's a Doncaster, whether it's a Bristol Rovers in the Carabao Cup. Just whatever game you're playing, make sure you're standing out, Tel. But look, as I said before, I stand with you. I think you've got great potential. I think you've got a lot of ability, and a lot of Spurs fans will get behind you. Drown out the noise. I know this is another setback, and I feel like it's always Tel surrounded by controversy. In the PSG game, we obviously know why he was surrounded by controversy. The back end of last season, there was a game against Fulham when he was the guy that went up to the fans trying to calm them all down, surrounded by controversy. And then numerous of times throughout the back end of last season, Tel was the guy that people picked on. And, he's the easy one on the chopping block. So a lot of people get onto him. But look, I think he deserves the opportunity to still prove the haters wrong and prove to Thomas Frank that he can have an impact in this team. But look, big up to everyone. Oh, this cat's getting mad. Sorry. Big up to everyone watching. Big up to everyone supporting. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What you think of the Champions League squad. What does this mean for Tel? And then away from that, make sure you are also supporting the channel, because we are now sponsored. Yeah. We are now sponsored by Match Bingo, so make sure you're scanning the QR code right here using promo code DRD to get a 200% depository bonus on your first deposit into the account. Match Bingo is a place where you can play and have fun whilst watching football games. It gives you a bingo card. You have to fill out your lines. You get a full house. You get a jackpot prize. So get involved. Scan the QR code to play there. And then away from that, it's your boy Do-Rag Diaries. We stand with you, Tel, yet again. And it's your boy. We're out.